Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite podcast entitled We Hate You Internet. All right, gather around once again. You know what I'm saying? We in this thing. This is We Hate You Internet. It is a podcast designed to bring awareness of the problematic effects of the internet on our lives, as well as celebrate the beautiful simplicity of our humanity. Okay, listen, I'm Wilfred Hamilton. You may hear the voice, it's a little raspy. That's because I'm going through puberty, but I'm gonna make it. I'm, I'm not aware this week. But I ain't let that stop me. You know what I'm saying? From bringing you this quality content. Because we know the people need it out the streets. Sitting alongside me, the weather outside is frightful. However, you know what I'm saying? The fire is so delightful, apparently. You know what time it is? You know, at the first sight, the first goosebump of the season, you know it's time for Ugg boots. You know what I'm saying? And Clara did not disappoint. She came in with the Ugg boots, her jeans tucked into the Ugg boots. That's how the girls do it, apparently. You know what I'm saying? I was supposed to say your name.
Oh, you weren't. That's okay. That's okay. I don't mind. I like the intro. I like the intro.
Cut. Her name is
Clara Aguirre. And yes, I got the Ugg boots. I got the scarf. It's definitely it's cozy season right now.
Cozy Toasty. You know what I'm saying? Today, man, it's gonna be an awesome episode. Before we jump all into it, I want to just say, as always, want to say thank you for all those who've supported us up until this point. We want to continue to encourage our road to 1,000 challenge. You know what I'm saying? Last year we really focused heavily on Instagram. Our goal was to hit 10,000. We surpassed it. You know what I'm saying? If you look on there, you see that 11K up top. That's how we do it, and the people mess with us like that. But this year we really want to focus on YouTube. And so we started our road to 1,000 challenge. We want to encourage everybody who listens, please go on, just tap the subscribe button and help us reach our goal. We want to hit 10,000 by the end of this year on YouTube. Quite lofty, but I think that we can accomplish it, man, because it's something special brewing with this platform. I can feel it, and as I say, I can smell it. So do that. If you're listening on the audio side, you say, I'm not on the YouTube stuff, I just like to listen. Well, that's cool too. Just make sure you leave a review, rate the show, hit the 5 stars, and help us out, because that also helps us bringing the platform to the next human being. Okay, that stuff out the way. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Today we will be talking about fighting. Fight. You know what I'm saying? And we have a very special guest we bringing along to help us with this conversation. You know, in our society, whether it's professional combat sports, you know, boxing, MMA, whatever the case may be, or whether it's all the way in the backyard with the backyard league, or just somebody holding a cell phone screaming WORLDSTAR, people love to watch fighting for some reason. You know what I'm saying? It's built into our DNA. We love violence. It's quite the spectacle, you know. But one of the things we really want to talk about, as far as this discussion is concerned, is how much fighting is glamorized in our time because of the internet. You know, anything that pop off, you're gonna have 5 or 6 angles on it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody got a cell phone. Everybody like to watch videos. Everybody loves to talk about, man, if it was me, I would have done this and I would have done that. Blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to talk from sidelines. But when you're in the mix, you know, time is a whole lot different. And so we want to bring somebody in to really just talk about the reality of fighting versus all this other mess that we be watching. So we got a man that and I noticed him on Instagram and TikTok. He is the head of the Las Vegas Combat Academy. His name is Donavin Britt. Do we have the man? Can we hear the man? Can the man hear us? Donavin Britt?
What is up?
That's
What's
the man.
going on, man?
Listen. We live with this thing. I'm telling the people, I said, man, listen, this man is special. You know, head of the Las Vegas Combat Academy, instructor of Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, and some other stuff you may not have heard of before. This man is well versed and very knowledgeable about combat, and we want to really just discuss, like I said, the reality of fighting versus the glamorization of fighting. You know what I mean? That's what we want to jump into today. One of the things I always
Well,
talk
that's
about, we have our formal introduction we do with people, and then we go into the informal, just about like what inspired us to bring our guests on the platform, because it's kind of exclusive on We Hate Your Internet. Can't get anybody, we don't bring on just no riff raff. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Can't gotta have some substance to make it on this stage. and and for this for you, sir, I'll never forget. It was a particular video that I saw as I saw you scroll across my timeline and or my feed, and you really put fighting in a perspective that I thought was really powerful. And the one thing that you said is that um, in a fight, you gonna get hurt, you gonna get scratched, you gonna get cut. You can't worry about that. It's gonna
Mhm.
happen. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the one thing you need to be on your mind is incapacitating your opponent. You know what I mean? Stopping your opponent. That's it. You ain't worried about nothing else. And that really resonated with me, because a lot of times when people are trying to, they imagine themselves fighting, they thinking one hit of quitters, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna slip this, I'm gonna do all this, blah, 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 blah. But but when reality hits, people are trying not to get hurt. But
Yeah.
that is the opposite of your mind. Your mindset needs to be when you're actually in a fight. You know what I mean? And so mentalities and perspective is a really important thing to me. So when you said that, I was like, man, I gotta get this man on the show to talk about these things. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate
Donavin Britt
that.
is in the building.
I appreciate the intro, man. I mean, yes, all that stuff is true, and my wife doesn't care. She still makes me take out the trash. So, you know, it's you can be as skilled as you want, but you gotta take the trash and pick up the dog poop. So, it's all good. It's all good.
We're gonna jump in, man. We got these questions. We're gonna jump into this thing.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So okay, first question right off the top. What is your perspective? What is your perspective of the glamorization of fighting in our society today? You see
Yeah.
all the videos and the backyard leagues and all this stuff that's popping up. You know what I mean? So what is your thought when you see these things, when you understand from your perspective as a combat instructor?
Yeah, I think it's important to note the difference between sport and street, or sport
Mm,
and self defense, right? Fighting
mhm,
and self defense, and I describe them as two different roads that intersect at various points. And so, fighting is sexy, violence is sexy. That's why action movies always have it in there. That's why, you know, look at WWE. It had a 30-year run of being the highest rated cable television show ever, and everyone knows that it's I don't want to say it's fake, but it's definitely scripted, right?
mm,
So why? Like why would people tune in to watch something that they know is scripted, isn't real? It's because of the sexiness and the violence of it all. So people are attracted to it, and it's in man's nature to do so. Um, but sometimes people are. I think a lot of times people have a different perception of it because they watch stuff on television or in a movie and think that it translates into the reality of defending
mhm,
oneself out in the street.
mhm. Claire, you got something?
Yeah, I really like how you put that. Like, there's a major difference between fighting and self defense. I think that because I myself, I love self defense. I practice Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, did Taekwondo for a few years. I'm into, like, I love guns. You know this, but there's a major difference.
See,
Like,
see, people be thinking Claire is all cute on the show and everything. She's all polished,
Claire's gangster.
but off the camera, I'm fearing for my life. I'll be like, yes, ma'am.
Right.
that's too funny.
So go ahead, now, go ahead.
But there's a big difference, like when you're and I notice it a lot, especially when it comes to certain discussions. Like, I don't want to take this conversation a certain direction, but for example, like when I see people who kind of get a little upset when they see like transgender fighters fighting women, or like people will get upset. Some people, not everybody, will get upset if they see like a guy and a girl roll, and they're like, oh, you know, that's not realistic. I'm sorry, but danger, like that's the thing is, you can't predict danger. You can't always assume or think somebody's going to be the same height, weight class as you. Like if you're into self-defense, that's very different from being into fighting. You get what I'm saying? Viewing fighting as a sport, like
Yeah.
viewing fighting for fun, like competing.
Yeah.
Self-defense, it can, that you got to be ready to do that anywhere, anytime, any place with anyone.
Yeah,
People who are
you almost
bigger
have to
than
take
you. Yeah.
you almost have to take the opposite approach, that the person is going to be bigger than you. They are going to be
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah.
They're going to be motivated to hurt you and committed to their action. You only have a few seconds to give them a paradigm shift, right?
Mhm.
So I always tell my students that when someone is attacking you, they believe they're going to be 100% successful. If they had any other doubt, any other thought about that, they would mess with someone else. These people are not looking to come and get into a fight with the strongest, toughest person they've ever met before. They want an easy victim, no different than
Yeah.
a lion. You know, when lions pick their prey, they don't pick the strongest, fastest zebra,
Yep.
right? They pick the one they think they can catch, and so because that one tastes like zebra too, like so
Yeah.
it's it's you know, we're mammals. Ultimately,
Mhm.
there's a instinct in all of this, and I think a lot of people confuse those two things, you know, um, and they shouldn't. Now, that isn't to say that someone who trains for sport can't fight someone in the street. That's ridiculous. Of
Yeah.
course they can, but the environment is different, and the skill set required is different. The tactics are different. You know, everything changes when you're outside of a rule set, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's something that a lot of people who train in other sports, you know, look, I have an MMA fight team, so people think that I hate um, MMA. I don't hate MMA. I don't really like their fans. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't. I think, look, MMA fan is, you know, WWE fans, they think the WWE is real. MMA fans think that they are real,
Mhm.
right? They go to the fights, and or they pay for the pay per view, and they're screaming about what they would do,
Mhm.
and it's like, you come on, bro, you have no clue what it's like to get into a cage or get into a situation with another human being, you know. But they're screaming all
Yeah.
this sage advice. So, but as far as the MMA skill set, MMA fighter is going to be fine in most cases in the street against some untrained goon,
Mhm.
all things being equal. However, if weapons become part of it, which they do 70% of the time, um, and if other people become part of the altercation, which happens many
Mhm.
times,
Yeah.
and they don't train for it, they're at a deficiency. So it's that simple.
See, boy, that get
That
me
is so
excited,
true.
man.
What
That's
is
why we
it?
brought the man on the show. Because see,
Yeah.
that's why I like that's why I love the man, because he keep it real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Listen,
a lot of times, like
it,
you said, man, you know, because that's the idea. That's the idea. People think they have this perception of things. You know what I mean? Even if you go and receive some type of training, you think, oh, okay, well, I got training, so now I can do this. But man, listen, a real fight, it is not you're not operating under the rules
There's
of
no
this
manners. There's no manners in a real
exactly.
fight.
They know, okay, knocked out. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let me get up. What do you mean? Let me get up?
Like what you talking about? No. And once you're
Yeah,
down, you're gonna stay down. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
baby,
yeah,
baby.
you can tap all you want in the street. It's not going to matter.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
does
like,
not.
honestly,
Mhm.
like I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you know, street is a whole different emotional bag of goods as well,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm,
so so a lot of people think, well, I'll just see red, bro. I'll just, that, like, you're against someone who's trained and has the desire to hurt you. You can forget all that stuff, like seeing red and all that stuff. You're going to see red, and then you're going to see white and blue after it, because that's an ambulance taking you to the hospital, right? So you can do all that stuff, and then there's the opposite side, where there's a lot of people who do train in martial arts who are dismissive of people who train in self-defense systems. And that's a mistake. Um, I was here, and again, I'm just a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, belt wise, but I've been training in grappling systems and different stuff for 30 years. So um, when I hear people say, "Oh, a BJJ black belt will do this, or BJJ black belt will do that," I'm like, well, yeah, you're now saying that all BJJ black belts are the same. They're not the same.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
not.
Very true.
One of my fighters just recently waxed a BJJ black belt in an MMA fight, and he's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but when you add punches and kicks into the mix, all of a sudden it changes things because we're not there to grapple exclusively, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so, and I know people who have no belt at all, and they're some of the most dangerous people I've ever been around because they're good at violence and willing to use it. So training is definitely a leg up, but if that's all you're depending on, you're in trouble. You have to have an emotional concept too as well. Are you really willing to hurt someone? Like,
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
really willing to break someone in two? Like, I'm sorry, but a lot of people don't understand. Like in the army, we always used to talk about why do you find more spent cartridges or shells than you find dead bodies? And the reason why is because the average human being doesn't really want to kill anyone. Even trained soldiers, they'll shoot near them, around them, do just enough to say they were in a fight. But the special forces, special operations guys, they're there for one reason. So, so
Mm-hmm.
are you really willing to break someone? Are you really willing to feel what that's like
Mhm.
to actually like put someone down? And
Yeah.
most people fantasize about it, but they're not willing to do it.
That is so true. Oh my God. That is, I love what you said. That's gold because the last time we spoke when we had the kind of like a pre-meeting, you said
Mm-hmm.
something and it stuck with me forever because there has never been something more true said about fighting, in my opinion. Like you can have people who train and then you got fighters,
Yeah.
like people who have that in who they are fighters, probably been fighters, probably will ever forever be fighters. Like there's a huge difference. And that's something that, like, if you're somebody who you're in these types of spaces, you can tell right away,
Mm-hmm.
like who the fighters are,
Mm-hmm.
who it's not going to phase them to put you down or keep putting you down. Like I don't, it's just in their blood, in their DNA. Maybe it's just who they are. But I think that kind of touches on what you just mentioned too. Like you may not even
Yeah.
have it in you to hurt somebody that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and a lot of people haven't even asked themselves a question. By the way, it's the same thing for gun owners. A lot of gun owners are the worst. And by the way, I'm a gun owner, so people, all the Ammosexuals, chill out. I'm not anti-gun. I carry one every day. All right, all right. So, um,
I'm sorry.
but most of them, by the way, yeah, that's why I call them Ammosexuals. These are guys who dream
Ammo.
about their gun. They talk about their gun, but they
Yeah.
don't. It's ridiculous.
Hashtag.
Yeah, these Ammosexuals
Yeah.
are
Okay. I'm
ridiculous.
sorry. Go ahead.
So they get guns and they think that automatically that gives them a leg up, but they don't realize that
Hmm.
now you have a responsibility to go train with that thing. And I don't mean just go to the range. I mean
Yep.
get some tactical training, understanding fatal funnels, understanding how to clear a room, understanding how to pie a door, understanding the difference between cover and concealment. All of these things happen. You can't just own a gun and think that you're Rambo,
Yeah.
right? So you get these people who sometimes they'll buy a tool or they'll take an MMA class, they sign up for BJJ, they take a few classes and they learn just enough to get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And
No, it's so true. Yeah.
it's and I'm like, yeah, well, training isn't an event; it's a process, right? It's not an event;
Yeah.
it's a process. How do you train? You start, you suck at it, and then you get beaten up, and then you get a little bit better, and you get beaten up more, and you suck more, and then you get a little bit better, and then you get to these
Hmm.
sticking points, and you keep it's a repetitive process, and I think that from a self-defense standpoint, self-defense systems, sometimes, when I see these women's only self-defense classes, I'm like, this is a bunch of hot garbage. It's a bunch of hot garbage.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that because you can't look. Women should train, but they should train with men, and they should train with bigger, stronger men, so they can feel the pressure, feel what that's like to have someone stronger
Mm-hmm.
than you grabbing you, and that way it's not a shock to your system emotionally or physically or mentally. So when it happens to you in the street, you're like, you have a place of reference. I've been here before. Claire, you've been rolling with guys and they're big and strong and they're crushing you. Like, okay, don't panic. That's the worst thing you can do is panic,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but if you don't have a frame of reference and you never felt that kind of pressure before, and you never felt what
Yeah.
it's like to get hit before, it's a whole different ballgame.
That
Whole
is
different ballgame.
so true. That is so true. And I think another thing that like people have to also get into, once you start training, once you get into that mode, like you're training, and you've said this I think before, but you're training for the worst day of your life
Yeah.
is and that's something you'll, in my opinion, I feel like no amount of training can ever really get you fully prepared for, like you got to get used to getting kind of crushed. You got to get used to be, you know being beat up. You have to get used to those things because, well, not used to it, but you have to place yourselves in yourself in that position because you have to be adaptable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You have to have
Yeah.
that reflex in you at the end of the day. If all I do is own my gun, but I don't even know how to pull from a holster. I don't know, like you said, I don't know how to clear a room. I don't know how to like I'm trained. All I am prepared to do is prepare to fail.
Right. Right.
Failure to plan. I mean, you're gonna plan. You got to plan to fail. That's just what it is. You have to,
Yeah.
because it's instinct. It's reflex. All of
Well,
it is
part of that,
reflex.
you're 100% right, and your training should enhance your reflexes, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. We actually are getting ready
Yeah.
to drop the video, but I made a video about disarming a firearm, and
Mhm.
those always get the most controversial comments on them because
Mhm.
you have two thoughts, right? Two people that come from different points. But one, the person like, you should just comply and give them whatever they want. If you talk to police officers now, they're going to be like, well, that's 50-50. 50-50. They might just take the stuff and go, or they might take your stuff and want more stuff from you and tie you up and get more violent. Who knows? That's the person. So the just comply thing is like, I don't know. But whatever, you have to go to your level. And then you get the other side of the gun guys who are like, no one would ever hold a gun like that. And then there's like 80 million videos of people doing exactly what I'm showing in the video, right?
Yeah.
But training with firearms as a martial artist, as a self-defense practitioner, it's important because I have a video that we're going to put where a guy comes in and puts a gun in a guy's face, but he racks it, but doesn't realize he created his own double feed. We're already running the pipe. So now he holds a weapon to the victim, and the slide is locked open.
Mm.
Slide's locked open, and his finger's on the slide. Gunman doesn't realize what's going on, and I'm like, okay, if you were ever going to go for a disarm, that's the moment to go. Why? The gun's not even in operation. He
Yeah.
can't fire. And
Yeah.
secondly, if I have a skill set to take the weapon, I like my chances anyway. Plus, his weapon is out of battery. But if you don't train with weapons and you don't put that as part of your self-defense continuum, you won't even recognize those opportunities. So it's multifaceted. And last thing with that, people always look for guarantees. I tell my students all the time, nothing, no technique from Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, anything is 100%. Nothing. Nothing guarantees you. Nothing guarantees you that safety. What we're trying to do is improve your chances for survival.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees. The only guarantee is that somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah. That's true.
Let's see.
That's very, very true.
Okay. We gotta move forward in the conversation. You mentioned something. Man, that boy dropping gold nuggets out here. Boy, booyah out there. You mentioned, like I said, we talked about our pre-meeting that we had, and one of the things that you mentioned I thought was really, really interesting. You were saying that America's fascination with guns is rooted in the fact that we don't have a native fighting or a native self-defense system. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I thought that was really, really
interesting.
interesting. You know what I mean? You watch, even go back and watch like Western movies or whatever, and people fighting just throwing like crazy hooks and just wild swings. And there is no, and I thought about other cultures and societies, they have a martial art that they teach from youth. You know what I mean? Like, and they use that in actual combat to, if they have to ward off any rate or any offensive threat, they use this system to defend themselves. And I thought that was really interesting. You want to elaborate something more on that?
Yeah. Look. So without a native fight system, right? That's been combat tested. You are in the United States. We're young relative to the rest of the world, right? So the rest of the world had to fight off invaders. They had to fight off, colonizers. They had to fight off all those things. The United States hasn't had to do that yet, not since we've been a formal country. Those who came before were the invaders who took the fight to the natives that were here. And without an indigenous fighting system, now you're dependent upon weapons. And so the weapons of the day back when were archery and blades and all the sticks and all those things. Well, by the time the United States comes about, firearms are now part of the thing. So firearms have always been part of our culture, and not necessarily hand-to-hand combat. So I think that's a big thing. And then fighting generally in the United States means sport. It doesn't mean hand-to-hand combat or self-defense, if you will. That's why you see a lot of the comments on all over the internet, like I'll just have a gun, or I'll just carry a gun. And this is a problem with law enforcement. A lot of law enforcement agencies they don't have a culture where their officers train, and so what do? They end up drawing their weapon and sometimes shooting people that they shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So it's problematic throughout our society, but
Mm.
I believe that the genesis of that is the lack of an indigenous fighting system here in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some?
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying this conversation because I feel like, you know, when it comes to guns in general, like I personally, I think it's important to, you can't, part of being a responsible gun owner is being an educated gun owner. You have to know the type of weapon you have in your hands and on you, and what it can do, not just to other people but to you. You know, what does it come with, what like the power that has. And I also think, you know, my brother said this, I might be misquoting him, but he said, you know, at the end of the day, a man might be 200 pounds, I might be, you know, 160, but Smith and Wesson makes us the same, makes us the same. And I feel like that's something that, for me at least, again, because I like self-defense, I think self-defense is important, especially for women, in my opinion. And so kind of a funny story I want to tell.
Story time.
So when I first started getting into gun ownership, training and things like that a few years ago, I joined this thing called this league called A Girl with a Gun. And it's a women group, shooting group, shooting league, and they have like monthly drills and stuff. You meet, and they have this thing called Bullets and Brunch.
Okay.
So you go to the range, you shoot, and you learn, you know, you pretty much go over the laws, make sure you
mimosas and magnums. Just put it on the table.
It is so funny because, you know what, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But so, you know, you go to the range, you go shoot, you go over, you know, the laws, make sure you're well aware of laws, especially if you're concealed carry or constitutional carry or whatever. You go over all these things, and then you go and have some brunch. So this one time,
sounds fun.
How cute.
it's a lot of fun.
And deadly.
It sounds fun. It sounds fun. It sounds legit.
It's a lot of fun. It's a great time. So the first time I went, I remember going, and I walk into this room near the gun range, and I'm like, oh, you know, trying to find the place, and I see these older women, like white hair older women, and they're all in the room, and I walk in, I'm like, oh, and they're like, oh, you okay? Are you lost? I'm like, well, I don't think I have the right place. Like, are you sure? What are you looking for? I'm like, oh, I'm looking for a girl with a gun. And they're like, oh no, you're at the right place. I'm like, okay, walk in, and these ladies, they've got like white hair, silver hair. One of these sweet older women, they got this sweater, and on the front has like this little kitten playing with yarn. I got another lady to the side, and she's got a necklace with the crucifix on it. Okay. And I'm you know, talking, they got their little donuts and their coffee, and I introduced myself, and you know, they're like, oh yeah, I was bird watching with my daughter the other day. Sweet older women, right? Sweet older women. And they're like, yeah, you know, oh, well, you know, talking to each other. We'll just call the first one Gertrude. So right. Gertrude's like, yeah, no, sweetie, you'll have a great time. Okay. We go to the range. Gertrude pulls out a Glock 45 with a laser, and I'm just in shock, and we're doing drills. So one of the drills that we were doing was active shooter drills. So they pretty much set the range. It's not a lane, they open it up, and they got like kind of like I don't know how to explain it, but like these walls, and you have to, you know, you're practicing, you're doing drills. This woman was a sharp shooter. Like I was blown away. And then she stops, and she's just like, oh, well, Claire, I hope you come back again. Like this, you know, it was such a wonderful time. And if you don't, you know, maybe we can go and get some tea or whatever. It's just a sweet older woman. And I was just shocked, but I found it really, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome.
It sounds legit. It sounds like,
yeah,
you know, it sounds like good training. And I think too, like, you know, even in martial arts, right? Like you don't have to give up your kindness and your love of people to be tough, right? And so, why do warriors exist? Warriors exist because of love. Like soldiers exist because of love. Soldiers love our country so much. We love our family so much that we're literally willing to go risk our lives and give up our lives to protect it. So it's not violence that is that is the motivating factor for most people in that regard. It is the
Mhm.
desire to protect themselves or
Mhm.
loved ones
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
drive people forward. So it sounds like great training.
Wow,
Great
that is
point.
beautiful. That is
Great point.
beautiful. I love that.
That's why we asked him to be on the show.